so that's had its 2 hours. So let's take the cloth off and see what we've got. So it's good news. So we've got a good bit of rise there, and now we've got some nice bubbles on the top, probably about maybe 30–40% bigger, and that's great. That's what we're looking for, really. You don't want it to have completely doubled in size, just because you don't want it to use up too much of its feed, so to speak, at this point. So I'm just going to turn it out onto the bench. There we go. And at this point we're going to divide the dough. Okay, so I'm going to take my palette knife and I'm just going to go straight down the middle. Okay. And it doesn't have to be too accurate. We're not looking for perfect weights, just 2 good sized lumps. So what we're going to do now, I'm just going to move this out of the way. We're going to do what's called a pre-shape, and that's basically where we're going to kind of pull the dough in on itself and shape this back into a round, and then we're going to leave it for half an hour for what's called a bench rest. So all that tension that we put in the dough by stretching it and folding it, we're gonna basically check we've gotten enough tension into the dough. So the way we're gonna get it into a ball, I use my hands. You can use a dough scraper. I'll display both methods here. So you just kind of want to get underneath the dough, and at this point we're going to try not to use any water. You get any little bits that stick to your hands, don't worry about that. And we're almost going to pull the dough towards us, turn it and pull the dough towards us, and you'll see how I'm kind of forming a ball here. And then I'm just going to pop it down there, and I'll just show you one with the dough scraper as well, just in case you get one. So same kind of thing. Just gonna turn it around itself, and you're basically kind of trying to tension the dough into a nice ball. Just finish that off. I prefer using my hands, really. It's a little easier to use your hands with a slightly lower hydration as well. So, I mean, take a good look at your dough. You should be able to see now that you've got like a nice developed dough, and you know, it's going to be nice and springy and bouncy, and you should just see again kind of bubbles developing on the skin. So that's your pre-shape, and that's going to be us for half an hour. We're going to put a cloth over them again. There we go. And we're just going to leave those for half an hour, okay? Right, okay, so the bowls have had half an hour now. Take the cloth off. I must admit I've had a sneaky peek, they are ready. So what we're looking for is kind of a nice rounded shape. Looking for nice rounded edges, and that's kind of a sign that when we've built tension during the stretch and folds, we've put enough tension in, and they should have dried out a tiny little bit on the top. That's absolutely fine. That's actually going to help you to shape them. So what I've done here is, I'll just show you on this camera. I've got my basket lined, so if you've not got a basket, then you can use the loaf tin, like I said in my other video, and then I've got a round one lined as well, and in both of them I've just sprinkled a little bit of the feed mix. We're going to put a little bit on top of the loaf anyway, but that's just going to stop it from sticking too much. So I thought I'd do one of each, just to show you kind of how you might shape a long loaf, and then how you would shape a round loaf as well. So, right, the first thing you want to do, now you can do this again with a dough scraper. I tend to do it with my hands, but for the sake of it, I will show you with a dough scraper. So you want to kind of just loosen it away from the surface like this, and then what we're going to do is we're going to flip it over. Okay, so this kind of slightly dried out. I mean, it's not dried out; it's still tacky. You know what I mean? Slightly drier side is going to be the bottom of the loaf. Just put a tiny little bit of feed on there, and I'll show you how to flip it over. So this portion here is still quite wet, quite sticky. That's going to help us stick the loaf together as we shape it. Okay, so we're just going to lightly get our fingers underneath and just kind of stretch it out into kind of a rough kind of oval. And we're going to start with the long shape, a little bit simpler to shape. If you get any big air pockets like this, there's one just there, just kind of gently pop those. You're not trying to take loads of air out, but those big pockets will give you quite an uneven structure inside. So we've got a nice little kind of oval square shape there. What we're going to do, we're going to take the bottom half, we're going to fold it up onto the top half, probably to about 2/3 of the way. So I mean, I'm used to handling this quite a lot with my hands. If you want to use a dough scraper, that's absolutely fine. If you want to put just a little sprinkle of water in your hands, again, that's fine. So we're just going to kind of grab it there, fold it over the top, and then we're just going to give it a little pat. And then we're going to take both sides like this, get our hands underneath. So remember, the kind of drier side is now on the bottom, so we shouldn't stick as much. So you should be able to kind of just hold underneath it. We're going to take our two sides like this. We're going to pull one out, fold it into the middle, and just hold it there, and it'll stick. And we're going to do the same with the other. We're going to go over the top. So we're going to do that. Okay? And you'll see there that we're starting to form a nice kind of ball shape. Okay? So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to take this top flap, stretch it out. We're not trying to pull it. We're just trying to make it easier to fold in. We're going to take that flap, we're going to just fold it over the top. Okay, so you should have now a kind of wrapped up little package. Looking down onto it, you're going to see it's got two kind of ears here. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to do what's called stitching, and we're going to take these two ears and we're basically going to cross them over. So we're going to take the right one first, and we're going to pass it over the top, and then we're going to take the left one, pass it over the right one. And where your joints have been, that's just the cat, ignore him. They're your new ears, okay? So you're going to do the same again, fold them over, two new joins there, fold them over, two new joins at the bottom, fold them over. And so what you've got there is kind of a rough line down the middle of stitches. And we're going to take the bottom, which we've not touched yet, pull it out slightly, and then we're going to fold it over everything and kind of just use the tension of the surface to kind of pull that back, okay? And that's a basic shape. So you should be able to see now it's going to have kind of two swirls, one on either end, and it should be holding its own shape nicely. So, you know, you get a good feel for it. You can kind of pull it in and tension it. If you want to, you can take these two end bits, just give them a pinch, like that. And what we're going to do now, grab our basket. We're going to put a tiny bit of flour on the top there and just spread it over. And then what I like to do now, just to make sure that everything's nice and secure, is kind of, you can flour the bottom of your palms a little bit there. Okay? I'm just going to pitch it like that, lift it up, place it upside down in the basket. Okay? So that's seam side up. So that bit'll still be a little bit sticky. If you want, you can pinch it in as well and just kind of seal it like that. And then, okay, we're going to put that to one side. So this bit's important. So if you've got any flour on the surface, either scrape it away, or just brush it out of the way with your hand, and then we're going to do the second one. So we're going to go for a round one here. So whereas we've kind of worked that into a long, we're gonna keep this one round. Okay. So same again. Just going to free this off the surface. Flip it over. So that's our tacky, kind of stickier side there. And then same process. I'm going to just kind of loosen the dough out so we've got some good area to work with, some good area to shape. Okay, and then same process again. We're going to go bottom half over the top, just leaving a little lip there of stickiness. We're going to take both sides, right and left. We're going to take the right over, make sure it's nice and stuck. Same with the left. Just going to check that we've got it right. It should just stick and stay like that. Then we're going to pull the top flap over. So just stretch it a little bit. Pull it over, and you don't want to go much further than your two folds. Okay, you want to leave a little bit at the bottom here that's just that just sticks out. So then we've got the two ears here. We're going to go right ear, left ear, and then the folds are going to create two new ones there again. So right over left, right over left, and just keep going down the loaf until you've got, you know, kind of no more room. You should have a nice line there. And then whereas we're going to do the same fold as we did on the last loaf, we're going to just fold it straight over like this. But instead of kind of trying to work it into a long shape, we're going to turn it, and we're going to kind of use the tension of the bench again, turn it, and shape it into a round. Okay, so kind of the same thing we did when we did the pre-shape before our bench rest, but because we've put all that tension in the loaf with the stitching and the folding, it's going to stay like this a lot more, because of course we're going to put it in the basket or the bowl. It's going to retain a lot of that shape. So you just kind of do that a couple more times. There we go. Try not to over tension it. If you see any tears in the skin, that kind of means that you've over tensioned it ever so slightly. So it's nothing to worry about, but just try not to over tension it. So I'm just going to get a little bit of feed again on the top and just give it smooth over. Take my other basket there. Same thing again. I'm just gonna turn it over in my hand, pop it in the bottom, and then if you see any little bits opening up like this, you can just give it a little pinch. And with the round ones, you can kind of pick little bits up and just kind of fold it in. And again, that's just going to add tension to the loaf. So, hope you can see what I'm doing there. Try not to get too much in the way. Basically just pulling little bits of it out and stitching them in the middle, but you shouldn't need to do that too much. And that's it really. So they're the two loaves shaped. My long one, my round one. See here for my lining, I've not used anything fancy, just a couple of dishcloths. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cover those up again with my snazzy mushroom towel. And we're going to cover those and leave them to prove for about 3 to 4 hours. I'm going to check them after about 3 just to see what's going on. And then we're going to bake them. We're probably going to put them in the fridge for about half an hour before we bake them. So I'll probably check these after about 3.5 hours, put them in the fridge while my oven preheats, and then they'll be ready to bake. Okay, so that's the shaping, and we'll come back to the baking.